It's too hard to sleep. I got the sheets on the floor, nothing on me. And I can't take it no more, it's 100 degrees. I got 1 foot out the door, where are my keys? Cause I gotta leave, yeah, in the back of the cab. I took the drive ahead of time, get me the fast. I got your body on my mind, I want it bad. Ooh, just the thought of you gets me so high.
A volleyball spike is a skill of attack, where the ball is aggressively hit over the net into the opposition's court. It involves a high amount of power and strength and is usually performed at the end of a 3-hit rally, upon most commonly receiving the ball from the setter.
A volleyball spike can be classified by either a one-dimensional or two-dimensional approach.
A volleyball spike is considered to be more of a gross motor skill compared to a fine motor skill. This is due to the large muscle movements that occur in the stages of this action. A volleyball spike is also classified as discrete because of its distinct beginning and end. This is also an open skill as the player is reacting to the ball from over the net or another player and is not self-paced.
Gets me so high.
A volleyball spike can be classified in the 4D category in Gentile's taxonomy table. This is because the regulatory conditions are in motion and there is inter-trial variability. The 4D category is the hardest to complete. The regulatory conditions in volleyball include the net height and size and ball in court size. The inter-trial variability present in a volleyball spike include the defenders and being in different areas of the court. Non-regulatory conditions include the opponents, spectators, stress levels, and court surface and crowd noises. Body orientation changes during the skill, and there is object manipulation while spiking the ball.
The key aspects of the volleyball spike are the run, jump, and spike.
For the run-up, the individual is prompted to start with the non-preferred foot. For example, if they are right-handed, they should begin with their left foot. They then take 3 steps and crouch their body slightly in order to create a powerful jump. During this time, they should swing their arms in order to gain momentum. The arm should come above the net and swing down on top of the ball in order to drive it into the opposition's court.
There are 2 different approaches that are important when evaluating a person's performance. These are qualitative and quantitative measures. For the pre-test quantitative measure, the player has 10 trials of a volleyball spike and records how many they can get over the net. The qualitative measure that is used is getting the player to perform the skill and then ranking each aspect on a scale of 1 to 5.
A retention test is implemented to test the degree to which learning has occurred after a certain time period, determining how much of the information has been retained without coaching and therefore learned. Again, it is 10 trials of a spike and recording how many they are able to get over the net. A transfer test was implemented to assess the volleyballer's ability to adapt to a game situation, putting them under pressure with defenders and other external factors.
There are 3 stages of learning that are important to consider when introducing a new skill to a beginner. These include the cognitive, associative, and autonomous stages. The player will start in the cognitive stage, which is learning the basic structure of the skill. Mistakes are commonly made in this stage. Progressing onwards, the player would then be placed in the associative stage. This is where they are becoming more aware of the different components of the skill. By the end of the 5-week period, the player will be at this stage. The last stage is the autonomous stage, which takes lots of practice and years to reach. This is where the player can perform a skill without conscious effort.
A player can either have positive or negative transfer. Positive is beneficial and negative can make it hard to learn the new skill. Positive transfer of learning can be utilised when being introduced to a new skill, as the player can relate previously no knowledge of a similar skill.
Generally, during the first learning stage, the player is given too much information. Verbal cues are a useful way to condense this information and focus on the vital elements of the skill. Some verbal cues we used were bend your knees, don't touch the net, and flick your wrists.
It is important not to flood the player with too much information, as they only have the capacity to remember small amounts. We included concise instructions and removed any distractions that may have been around, as their attention is divided at the start. The information should be highly specific to the skills, key aspects such as the run-up, jump, and/or spike. We also demonstrated the spike, as this can be more effective to transfer information.
Augmented feedback enhances a person's own intrinsic feedback and is a vital part of the learning process. The feedback that was given to the player was knowledge of performance, focusing on the different movements that were completed. This is so they can discover what aspects of the skill that they were good at or need more practice in, rather than just focusing on the end result.
During the training program, we will start with giving feedback after every trial, but taper it as the weeks progress. This is so the player does not become completely reliant on feedback and can correct or adjust their movement themselves. Other feedback is important, however the sole focus shouldn't be on directly telling the player what to do. This is reflected in the guidance hypothesis.
Our program consists of short sessions, multiple times a week, with larger rest periods. This is called distributed practice. Distributed practice has been shown to be more effective towards learning than mass practice.
There are two ways that a skill can be practiced. This is either whole or part. Because a volleyball spike is high in complexity and low in organisation, this means it can be taught as part practice. However, this can become monotonous and boring. Part practice is also good as the player's full attention is on the skill.
The segmentation approach was used for our skill. The skill was separated into the key components, and then at the end of the program they were all combined together to complete the one action.
Motivational strategies are effective in helping a person learn skills and increase their desire to improve. Intrinsic motivation is more effective than extrinsic motivation, as it is personal with the person having internal drive to improve. Goal setting encourages the player to strive for an achievement and reach their goals.
A person can only retain a small amount of information at one time. This is important to consider when teaching a skill. The player's attention must be solely focused on the demonstration or audio they are being presented with at first. Then distractions can be introduced to allow their attention to be focused on more than one thing. In order for the player to move the skill from short-term to long-term memory, rehearsal of the skill must occur. Thank you for listening to our video.